The moment we are born, we crave sugar. The other flavors, sour, bitter, salty, around the globe are flavors that we learned, but our craving for sugar didn't start in the candy aisle. It's biological. Sugar. So much of the world's history is wrapped up in this one commodity. We fought over it in the Crusades. Sugar and our relationship with sugar has been bittersweet. Sugar's brought about the expansion of the world's economy. Sugar also brought the expansion of slavery. Sugar brought piracy into the Caribbean, but it also brought rum. And time flies when you're having rum. This is a true story. We're going to get to the rum. But before then, I'm going to tell you a little bit about the cultivation of sugar. Quick 2-minute history of sugar. Sugar was first cultivated in Papua New Guinea around 8,000 years ago. And from there, it spread through Southeast Asia and eventually to India. Around 2,000 years ago, India was the first place to process crystallized sugar. And what they did was they took cane juice and they cooked it down, which created molasses. And if you cooked the molasses further, you got what is called a Muscovado sugar, which is a dark brown sugar that has molasses still in it. You refine this sugar further and you get white sugar. So it goes from molasses to Muscovado sugar to white sugar. So India is producing white sugar and trading it with the Persians. And Jerusalem, around 1000 AD, becomes the largest sugar producer in the world. And around this time, the Crusades happen, and Europe gets a taste for sugar. The Crusaders called this stuff white gold. Everyone says the Crusades happened because Christians wanted to expand Christianity into the Muslim world, but in reality, it was because Jerusalem at the time controlled the sugar trade, and the Crusaders wanted a bit of that white gold.
I'll kill all 600 myself. Draw your arms!
Must protect sugar. The sweet.
And for the next 500 years, Europe's taste for sugar intensifies.
I see right here it says I shouldn't have given you sugar.
They take Jerusalem and they take sugar production back into Europe.
Give me sugar.
And it stays there for 500 years until the Ottoman Empire comes around and shuts the door on European sugar.
Pull back! Pull back! Pull back! Run!
And Europe's like, what are we gonna do? We can't get our sugar. Enter Christopher Columbus.
I'm here with Christopher Columbus. Thanks for being on the show.
Columbus had sugarcane with him when he landed in Hispaniola, the island which would become Haiti in the Dominican Republic.
In America, first you get the sugar, then you get the power.
Spoonful of sugar helps the medicine go down.
And from there, a dark history starts.
Gosh, man, you were terrible.
Columbus tried to get the indigenous population to grow sugarcane, but the problem was that he also brought disease. The indigenous population is decimated because of disease that's brought over by the Spaniards.
Everybody loves Christopher Columbus.
I don't think so. I think everyone's kind of feeling weird about it.
What?
The only problem is that sugar production is super labor intensive, and they weren't going to do the work. What they do is they end up expanding slavery. The sugar industry in the Caribbean was born.
Do you have anything else you want to say before I send you back down to hell?
I'm going to chop your tongue off and I'm going to eat it.
The expansion of sugar production in the Caribbean triggers the expansion of African slavery. Over 50% of slaves from Africa were brought into the Caribbean to work sugar plantations. 95% of all the 11 million slaves that were brought into slavery were sent to South America and the Caribbean. White sugar was too precious of a commodity, and so they only shipped the Muscovado sugar, and it was further processed into white sugar in Europe. The molasses was left over. The slaves start fermenting, the byproduct of molasses, and that's where we get rum. Oh my God, I almost swallowed it. The sailors got their daily ration of rum, and they would make it last longer by adding a little water and lime juice and a little bit of that Muscovado sugar that they had on store. And really, this was a precursor to the daiquiri. Let's make one. I'm gonna make a variation of the daiquiri, which is closer in line to what the pirates drank back in the 1700s.
You're gonna be the first pirate. But I don't want to be a pirate.
Pirate cocktail. I like my rum to have a cork in it. Makes me feel like a pirate. Let's start with 2 ounces of rum. I love the cork. This is a Muscovado simple syrup. I'll put that recipe in the description as well, but it is 1 part Muscovado, 1 part water, and a 1/2 part white sugar. 1 ounce of our sugar syrup. 1 ounce of lime juice. And then we're gonna, oops. Ah! Ice is falling all over the place. And shake. Double strain into a cocktail glass. My other strainer's in the dishwasher. Arr, and then double strain into a cocktail glass. Cheers. It looks like poo, but it tastes good. You don't look like a pirate drinking white rum. It brings out a sort of a caramely flavor to your daiquiri. It kind of makes me think of sort of like, you know, like a cigar room in Havana. It's like a man's daiquiri. It's strong.
The strong must protect the sweet.
I do like cocktails. Okay, I'm not exactly sure where we are. Maybe it's the cocktail. Sugar changed the demographics of the world. I mean, it's crazy. Let's get a recap. The sailors, they had rum on the ship. They had this Muscovado sugar, and they had limes to prevent scurvy. Combine all 3 of these ingredients, you've got a daiquiri. The only thing missing was the ice. But I'm liking this cocktail more and more. Muscovado sugar is an underappreciated sugar. And you know what? It makes the best chocolate chip cookies in the world. What's more American than a chocolate chip cookie? There's nothing better than a chocolate chip cookie made from a secondary sugar. And that's what this channel's about. Taking products that are rejected, saving products for the future. So much of our culinary experience is developing a secondary product into something delicious. The party's about to start. Let's make some cookies. First step, turn on the oven to 400 degrees. You know, the Dutch created the word for cookies. First step, we need to melt and brown 8 tablespoons of butter. I'm a little tipsy. I've made these cookies a million times before, but this is the first time I've done it while drinking a cocktail. For 300 years, from the 1500s until the 1800s, Western society took slaves, sent them to the Caribbean to make sugar. Really, the exit of slavery in the Americas came about because of advances in technology. When Western society determined that sugar beets made labor costs such that it was no longer profitable to have slaves. The craziness is to think about the sugar trade in relation to the oil industry today. They're dealing with conflicts of the Middle East. The Europeans wanted sugar. It was a big influence in the Crusades in invading Jerusalem. When the sugar starts making noise like this, you know it's brown, and it's time to dump it into the pan with our other sugar. Technology is now making oil less necessary, and we're more concerned about the environment. And so we're looking at alternatives. It's driven by economics. Renewable resources are now cheaper to produce than coal, and so coal is becoming out of fashion. And, you know, really with slavery, it's kind of the same. Moral issues aside, Western society accepted it because they wanted their sugar.
Give me sugar.
The United States now produces most of their sugar from sugar beets, and when sugar beets were created to develop sugar in the 1830s, it was no longer as labor intensive. slavery becomes out of fashion at the exact same time in England. In England, people started refusing to buy slave sugar. In 1833, slavery ended in England. And there's something to be said about that. We've got our butter melted. We're gonna add our white sugar and our Muscovado sugar. Whisk that to combine. Here I am talking about technology. To this sugar and butter mixture, we add 2 tablespoons of vanilla, my homemade vanilla. Every time I use a vanilla bean, I put it in the freezer, and you can mix it with vodka and put it in a pressure cooker. You've got instant vanilla. And if you're interested in learning that recipe, let me know. I'll show you how to do it. So to this, we also add 1 egg yolk. You can save the egg whites for cocktails or soufflés or whatever else you desire. I don't really know how to use a mixer. I usually do this with a stand mixer. Second egg. Fuck. And it's the alcohol talking. A teaspoon of salt. I'm glad I decided to make cookies after drinking 3 rum cocktails. So what I'm doing here is mix this for 30 seconds. I let stand for 3 minutes, mix it again for 30 seconds, let stand for 3 minutes, and then I mix it again for 30 seconds. And what that's doing is it's essentially just aerating the sugar and the butter and the egg combination. I like that happy medium between cakey and crisp. We're gonna add a half a teaspoon of baking soda to the flour, and then mix that to combine. Fuck! I do not know how to use a hand mixer. What am I gonna do? Brazil was one of the leading sugar producers in the world in the 1800s, and they didn't end slavery until 1888. Into the oven. The chocolate chip cookie, invented in 1938, 1939, the Toll House. Kind of like sugar, so simple and so complex. It has that faint, crisp, just as you bite into it, sort of a little bit of crunch. And then it just lets go to this sort of soft and chewy center. And then the Muscovado sugar has that sort of caramel toffee note. It's so good. That was an adventure. Sugar, Muscovado sugar. And like with a lot of things, a once secondary sugar is now a premium sugar. You can't buy this in the grocery store that much, but you can buy it on Amazon, and I do. It's a great sugar to use. It's still so good. Can you drink milk out of a cocktail glass? Yes, you can. Brings me back. Well, there you have it. The dark history of Muscovado sugar. Another round. Thanks for watching. See you next time.